So then what you do is you chunk it back quarterly. Okay, so out of all these goals, what do I want to focus on each quarter? And so I have at the top in blue here, yearly goal and plan. So I write down. So then the second page, the final page of this is I have listed all my bank accounts. And this is where it gets a little interesting. Okay, so I want to talk about budgeting. And I feel like the big important thing about budgeting is to make sure that your dreams happen. Quadrant 2 tasks are the things that are important, but they're not urgent. Like no one's holding a gun to your head that's like, you need to go on a vacation, or you need to take that course, or you need to get your pilot's license, or all these things that people just kind of kick the can down the road and they just kind of don't really get around to it. So this method is what I use to kind of make sure that your visions and dreams financially happen, and to really prioritize that first, because there are always going to be things that happen along the way that kind of, unexpected things. Those things will always happen and they're urgent, and so you'll make sure that those get handled, but you might not make sure that you have room for fun. And so that's what I kind of want to do together today. So I made a vision book, and it's kind of like a goal setting visioning book. So the beginning of the book talks about dreaming, and the next part of the book talks about making the plan. So I actually personally for myself filled it out twice. Once for just my general goals, what do I want to do this year? And then I kind of duplicated it because it's PDF on my iPad. And I made another copy for my finances and what do I want my finances to look like this year. So I started off by brainstorming kind of some yearly goals. What do I want? Like maybe getting a personal trainer, or a retreat for myself, or throwing a party, or gifts, or a shopping spree, or some new tech for YouTube, or taking a new course. I just kind of brain dumped, like in all these different categories of my life, where could I set a goal financially? So now as you prioritize 5. So I had kind of 5 goals, like what do I think? Okay, so then what you do is you chunk it back quarterly. Okay, so out of all these goals, what do I want to focus on each quarter? And what I realized is I kind of wanted a reward for each of those. It's like, okay, so if I like really kill it at each of these, what do I want my reward to be? So I kind of set 2 goals. One that's like the goal, and then one's the reward for making the goal. So then I added at the end of each quarter, I want to do a course because I just love learning, and that's something that for me feels like a really good reward. We're like then chunking it down by the quarter. Okay, so this is where I want to be at the end of quarter 1. What do I need to do by the end of January, February, March? And so since I have those 2 goals, I kind of made 2 climbs. Okay, so if I want my student loans paid off, it's like $2,000 roughly. So then I need to pay $700 each month. That's where I need to be. And as far as my reward goes, if I take a course that's $300, I'll just contribute $100 each month to that. So then you chunk it down even further. Okay, so in January, I get paid 3 times. So I kind of broke it up into 3. So like my husband gets paid twice, and then I have my paycheck once, and then I kind of broke those up. Okay, so if I want to pay $700 per month, and I divided that, that's $240 per paycheck, roughly, for my 3 paychecks. And then also if I want to contribute $100 each month toward the course and the reward, that would be about $35 per paycheck if I get paid 3 times a month. So that's kind of my goals. So that's what I'm doing. So this is where I kind of stopped with the vision book, but then it has you kind of chunk out action items. Okay, what do you need to put on your calendar that's an action item? So for me, my action item is I need to have a budget meeting every time I get a paycheck. So for me, that's the 1st, the 15th, and the 21st. That's when I'm going to have like a budget meeting with myself, and that's where I kind of allocate the funds. So make sure you add that to your calendar. Reminder, 1st, 15th, and 21st, all throughout the year, I've got a reminder that I want to do a budget meeting with myself. That's what we're going to do now. So then I actually made a budget template. So each of those, so 3 times a month, I'm going to fill out this template, and I just made a copy of it. So I have it, it's called template. And so I have at the top in blue here, yearly goal and plan. So I write down, by the end of the year, I want to accomplish this, this, and this. I will do this by this, this, and this. And so I write that down. Then my quarterly goal, say, by the end of quarter 1, I want to have my student loans paid off. I will do this by contributing $700 each month. Then I get to my monthly goal. So I would say, I will pay off $700 worth of student loans. I will do this by contributing $240 each paycheck. So that's what I like. I just want to always be thinking about the bigger vision at the smaller stages of the game. So then I have a box for this paycheck. Okay, this is how much this paycheck was. And then I break them down into categories. And I have specifically ordered my categories in this order because they go from most important to me, my priorities, to kind of least important to me. And they also kind of go from least flexible to most flexible. Like, I want to pay $240 to student loans, and that is not flexible to me. It could be different for you, but this is how I ordered them. So loans, that's my first priority, so it goes first. And then I have, which leaves this much money. Then saving for macro fun. To me, that's what I called it, macro fun. It's fun things that are more than a month or more than 1 paycheck. So for me, that's the course. And then which leaves blank. And then taxes I need to set aside, tithing, which I need to set aside. Then I like to just have a certain amount in my checking account just for kind of random stuff that happens. I like to just have $100 in checking for that week just to see, in case something happens. Then special events, that's typically birthdays is usually what that is. So at the start of every year, I wrote down everyone's birthday in my planner, and then also 2 weeks before their birthday, I put in a reminder to buy them the gifts so the gift actually gets on time, because I don't need to know when their birthday is that day. I actually need to know a couple weeks beforehand. And for big things, like for my husband's things, I actually wrote them down a month in advance just so I can really chip away and budget them in. And when I wrote down everyone's birthdays, I found that there are 2 to 3 gifts I'm buying every month. So the special events category gets used a lot. Then I've got grocery and gas. It's further down the list. I mean, grocery and gas is obviously a priority, but it's very flexible. To me, it's not as much of a priority. And then fun micro, that's not I'm saving for something big. That's just oh, I want to buy a lotion today or something. I don't know, something kind of small and fun for myself. Or a book is usually what it is, actually. I want to buy a book. And then eating out and coffee. So that one's the most flexible. But it's really important to keep in your fun. What a lot of people do is oh, I'll just cut out all my fun things. And they only do it in theory. And then in reality, you're not going to cut out the fun things. So you got to actually schedule in the fun things. And then I have my 2 progress bars for my 2 goals. So I have my Q1 progress bar for how much loans I paid off. And then I have my Q1 progress bar for how much I have saved for a course. So then the second page, the final page of this, is I have listed all my bank accounts. And this is where it gets a little interesting. So I've heard that some banks have the capability where you have folders within your bank account and you can sort things that way. My bank doesn't have that capability, so this is my workaround. So I have several checking accounts and several savings accounts. And initially they said that there was a fee for every extra checking or savings account you open. There was a certain fee per month, a certain percentage per month, but I just asked them if they would waive it, and they did. So I'm not paying any extra fees or anything for doing this. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 accounts open. These are my different categories. So I've got a bills account. They basically align with the categories we just talked about, but I've named them different things. So you can name them within your bank. And then I actually sort them into these different banking accounts. So I don't have debit cards for all of these. I have debit cards for my checking account, eating out / coffee, and then grocery / gas. Those are things I need debit cards for. Other things like my emergency fund doesn't really need one. I have my bank's app downloaded on my phone. So for example, if for any reason I needed to access that money, I would just transfer it into my checking account. And so that's what I do a lot of times. I just transfer money from one of those accounts that doesn't have a debit card and transfer into one that does. The reason I don't have debit cards for all of them is it would be so many to carry around. So I have my phone and it carries my debit cards in here. And so I've got 3. And that fits that just fine. I wouldn't want to carry it anymore. And at the beginning with a Sharpie, I would write down which debit card it was because I might get them mixed up. But now I kind of just, after doing that for a couple years, I now have the numbers memorized. So I don't really need to do that. So yeah, this is what I do. This is how I budget. So I budget 3 times a month doing that. And it just really helps me stay high level because I'm just so focused on reaching my goals and what are my priorities. And it can be so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day minutia that you kind of forget to do the bird's eye view and really look up and see what are the big fun things that you want to do, or if money was no object, what things would you do? And it's really important to prioritize yourself and fun and those type of things. So I will link this budget template down below, and I will also link the vision book down below. Those are kind of the 2 resources I used. This is kind of part of my weekly, monthly planning, which I will do a video about those coming up, and I will do monthly planning videos every month. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. Bye.